early professional, there are things that you can do. So if you had a high school job as a server, we're talking customer service, proactive problem solving, organization and attention to detail. They can transfer and apply to corporate roles or other roles that are your professional experience. So in lieu of that, use those transferable skills. One more thing that I am seeing that does work for that young professional is if you can get one or two one-sentence statements from your former manager that you can include in that resume, just that is that social proof that this person is worth having a conversation with.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Clients, Less Effort. My guest today is a certified resume writer, job strategist, and certified interview preparation coach and a LinkedIn pro. At just 50 years young, she's reinvented herself, transitioning from a job she needed to create the career she always dreamed of. In 2019, she launched her business, We Write It Now, and has never looked back. At the persuasion of a few good friends, she decided to get back to her roots and pursue a position doing what she'd always loved, marketing and writing. But things didn't go as planned. And after a year of applying to hundreds of positions, she didn't get a single offer. Exhausted and ashamed, she took matters into her own hands and chose to follow her heart to launch her own business, helping job seekers navigating the complex and confusing space of finding a job. Please welcome Kristi Klein. Kristi, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim.
Why do you think you're doing a job? Is that because you can't write resumes, or is that because you are going back to the workforce as an older employee?
Ding, ding, ding. No, it was completely that I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's what I see so often. If you're out of the job search space, things have changed, obviously dramatically since the pandemic, but I was trying to do this before the pandemic, and it also had changed then. And so when I learned what I was doing wrong, and then when I realized that my age was something that I couldn't exactly fix, I could fix my strategy for my resume, for networking, for all those things, but my age was something that I couldn't really do anything about. And it was at that point that I decided and realized I had to reinvent myself, And so that was a whole nother fun journey. And it truly was, like, I'm not being facetious. That was really fun to explore what might make sense for me, how to leverage my strengths, my passion, my expertise, how to wrap it all into something that can actually sustain me for the next decade or two.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways I want to take this today, because I think for many of us listening, we probably haven't written a CV for 5, 10, 20. I can't remember the last one. Can't remember the last time I updated my CV. It's got to be at least 20, if not 25 years ago, since I last applied for a job. But I think it's also really important to recognize that as employers, we are getting this little bit of paper that might be 1, 2, 3, 10 pages long with a cover letter that kind of tries to encapsulate everything, the promise that this employee is going to bring to our business. And it doesn't necessarily do it, because the job search process in itself is incredibly stressful.
It is. And I would challenge somebody that's building their resume to refrain from documenting every single thing you did. Focus more on the things that you did that help build you as a strong, solid candidate for a particular role, And so for people like you and me, if we were to re-enter the job force, they don't want 20 years of my work experience. They don't care really what I did 20 years ago. They're more concerned about what I've done recently. So that's kind of how I educate people is focus on the most recent roles and how you can solve your future employer's pain points in your resume.
That's probably one of the key things, that's that future, the pain points. Right? What is your problem? It really is. And this is something that occurred to me recently. As an employee, and we have a job, we have a business in a way, right? We are consultants, and we have one client that we need to please. Right. If we don't keep pleasing that client, we're going to get the arse. Right? But we've almost got the same thing. And our job is to squirrel away wealth and freedom through superannuation or our 401k and savings as we go. As business owners, obviously, we've got a different thing. We get to do that. We also get to build value in our business that hopefully someone recognises in the future and buys from us.
Right.
401k we haven't been putting submissions into. But there is very much the same kind of thing, isn't it? It is, we are trying to appeal to a buyer of our services in some capacity. What are some of the mistakes that you were making that you see other people making now that you've done all this sort of this research?
That's a great question. Before I launch into that, I do want to address what you just said, though, because you also hit the nail on the head there. You are marketing yourself and your digital documents, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter. Those all should serve as a marketing tool. And I think that is a big shift that people are seeing. For those of us that haven't been in the job search space, it's less of a chronological story of what you've done, but it's more about the direction that you want to take your career. So your resume shouldn't necessarily be completely past focused. It really should be more future focused, especially the top third of your resume, because that's what they are going to read first and fast. So you have to quickly capture their attention with impressive information about you, big things that you've done, big impacts that you've made, big contributions that have helped your employer or helped your team or helped management. Those are the things that they're really looking for.
Just on that then, if I mean, I'm thinking of my son here who's about to turn 19 and has written some. What if you're just entering into the job market and maybe you don't have those big things? Does it matter to employers? And this is something of a rhetorical question, of course. Do employers care that maybe you haven't had the super big transformation? Like, I didn't grow XYZ companies by $17 million. I stacked shelves at Walmart.
So there's different ways if you don't have those impacts, contributions, achievements, especially for the early professional, there are things that you can do that still are meaningful that the recruiter is looking for. So especially with the recent college grads, they're looking for transferable skills. So if you had a high school job as a server, we're talking customer service, we're talking proactive problem solving, we're talking organization and attention to detail. These are all things that are required in that role as a restaurant server, but they can transfer and apply to corporate roles or other roles that are your professional experience. So in lieu of that, use those transferable skills. One more thing that I am seeing that does work for that young professional is if you can get one or two one-sentence statements from your former manager that you can include in that resume, just that is that social proof that this person is worth having a conversation with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's when we look at some, I think it's just thinking how this translates into a LinkedIn profile as well. It's less about I stacked shelves and this is what I did, what I'm hearing you say. And I think about the things that I look for as an employer as well. I'm looking for those transferable skills. I'm looking to employ someone that ultimately makes my life easier. And if that can be demonstrated through someone's CV and job application with that social proof, with a testimonial, with even if you've done some volunteer work or like a scout group or whatever that says John is dynamic, thoughtful, proactive young man, blah, whatever it happens to be. It's the kind of thing that we want to see as employers that says, if I employ you, are you going to make my life harder or are you going to make my life easier?
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, I mean, the things you picked up there, right? The proactive, the discipline, the sort of the customer service skills and stuff, all super important in demonstrating ultimately that you will make my life harder or you will make my life easier.
And let me give you just one more example. And I just did this with a client a couple of weeks ago. They were carrying a full class load, plus they had an internship, plus they had a part-time gig. So they were balancing 16 hours plus 2 jobs, one paid, one unpaid. So on paper, that's great. You write down the details, what you did for your internship, what you did for your part-time role. But here's the thing, you had the ability to successfully manage and prioritize more than a full course load, plus an internship, plus a part-time job. What does that say about you? I mean, I could spout out 5 things that it could say about you, but I mean, the big takeaway is this person can handle projects with competing deadlines, prioritization, attention to detail. You have to spend some time thinking, because of my skills, how are these skills going to help my employer?
I think this is a really valuable lesson here. And to be honest, if you'd said that to me 30 years ago, Kristi, that would have been really useful. When I first started entering into the job market in 34 years ago now, I'm now showing my age. Yeah, really sort of valuable insights there. And in many ways, just coming back to your statement about our CV and in many ways our LinkedIn profile as employees needs to show the what that means for a potential employer and or potential client, right? Not what I've done, what it means for you is this. That's a real light bulb moment for me to go, hey, this is actually, I've got to change this. And I know I see when I look at LinkedIn profiles from a perspective of from a business owner's thing, going, you've done all these things, they're fantastic. But what does that mean to a buyer?
Exactly.
If you're a business owner on LinkedIn, are you looking for a job? No. Are you looking for a client? Yes, but present your skills and experience in a way that means we've done all these things, therefore I can do this for you.
Right. Present those things in a way that is meaningful for your target employer or target client. It's the same thing. What you want to do with your LinkedIn profile is when somebody lands on it, you want it to speak to that ideal client or that ideal employer. And I have to say this, your LinkedIn profile is working for you or against you 24/7 like a billboard. So if you aren't comfortable or confident that the message that your profile is displaying, you need to go in and adjust it, because you never know when people are stopping by and looking at your profile. I mean, unless you are literally checking it out every day.
There's the thing there that says these people have visited your profile, right?
Right. Who's viewed your profile?
Who's viewed your profile? Now, if you can go and find that in LinkedIn, just go and I think it's on, if you click on your profile on the left-hand side there, you can see. And you should be starting conversations with those people, both as
Yes.
and as a employer and as a business owner as well.
Yes.
Going back to my earlier question, Kristi, what are some of the mistakes that you see? I imagine that is one really big one. It's to just the what you've done. I stack shelves, I move cartons, report, great.
Right.
What are some of the biggest mistakes?
Sure. So the first biggest mistake that I see, and I don't see this as much as I did several years ago, but people that have been out of the job search space aren't familiar with or don't understand how ATSs work, the applicant tracking systems. They are a thing. They're not just a thing, they're a very big thing. It is very important that you understand how they work, or work with a resume writer or a career coach that understands how they work. So that's the biggest thing, is the ATS. The second biggest thing I see is creating a resume that is jam-packed with words that don't really have any meaning. And I see this a lot. People that are trying to stuff everything into 1 page or everything into 2 pages. And I'm telling you, when a recruiter is going through 200 and 300 resumes a day, they don't want to open up a document and have their eyes glaze over because there's 1,500 words on a page, right? You need that white space.
Negative space.
You need visual interest. Throw a little bit of color on there.
I was going to actually ask the question that says, does the format of your resume actually matter? But
yes,
format, more so the ease of consumption of the information on it.
I mean, the format matters, and a part of that format is to make it visually appealing and skimmable. That's one of my 4 pillars for building a resume. You need to tell the story. You need to have it be skimmable with visual interest. You need to talk about the impacts and contributions that you have made, and you need to incorporate some personal branding. And as an early professional, you may not have that brand yet, and that's okay. But for the mid-level and the senior level professionals, you really need to understand what your personal brand is. What do you do better than most? What do people say about you when you leave the room? Once you understand that brand, that can be weaved in through all of your career documents. So those are some mistakes I see. And then also, when you copy and paste your job description, that doesn't tell us anything other than what you are supposed to do. And recruiters care less about what you're supposed to do. They care more about what you've done. And because of what you've done, what happened? What impact did you make? So not telling those stories. And then the last thing is not customizing your resume for the roles that you apply to. That is also a very big thing. And research has shown, my clients have told me, when you make these subtle adjustments in the top third of page 1 so that they match or mirror the job posting, your resume will do much better.
Does it matter how long it is?
Yes. Yes. If you're doing a CV, it's traditionally longer than a resume, and it can be anywhere from 4 pages to 8. I've even seen 10. It's a little bit long for me, but in the States, the best rule of thumb or the best practices is really to hover around 2 pages. For more senior level people, it may go on to 3. The key word I go back to is skimmable. So if it's going to go on to 3, that's fine. You're going to have lots of white space. But if you're trying to jam everything into 2 pages and it really should be 3, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Okay. Question.
And one more thing, because length is a question that is hotly debated. When you're a young professional, recent college grad, student, 1 page is fine. It is acceptable. It is the standard. If it goes over to maybe the top half of page 2, that's okay also. But when you are 3, 4 years in, I would fully expect you to have 2 pages.
Yeah. Resume or CV? What's the difference?
So it's sort of the same, except a CV is a more expanded version of your resume. A lot of federal jobs require CVs, and a lot of roles that are overseas, they look for CVs. I haven't done a CV. That's not my space. It does take a little bit more. And I know there's plenty of resume writers out there that can do CVs and do them really well. But by and large, in the United States, we just work with resumes.
Let's talk LinkedIn real quick.
Yes. Yes.
Do the same rules apply for LinkedIn?
Which rules specifically?
Well, how much you put in, how long your descriptions are. What do people do well on LinkedIn, and where do people
Sure.
stuff it up?
So the way that I view LinkedIn is a great opportunity to humanize your resume, because when you're reading a resume, it doesn't really tell you much about the person behind the resume, and it shouldn't. That's not the purpose of it. But with LinkedIn, it gives your future employer or future clients a glimpse into who you are, into your brand, into a little bit more personality. Specifically, you can put this information in the about section. And recruiters, once they land on your profile, they go straight to the about section. Couple notes on the about section, because you asked about length. I think if they allow you 2,600 words, 2,600, I think is the limit. Make your about section skimmable. Throw some emojis in there. I'm not saying make it an art project. Don't go crazy, please. But throw some emojis in there, some headers before you bullet point things. Again, you're wanting to make everything skimmable. Bite-sized chunks are the best. So that's what I would recommend in the about section. In your headline, that's a great place to incorporate some of your personal branding and also those high impact keywords that are going to help recruiters find you. I can go on, but I don't want to hog the conversation.
Does it? I mean, talking personality in a professional space, I've seen content that is not educational or not professional. Let's use professional loosely as a term, but about you and your dog, or a photo of my son's graduation recently, and was talking about that, which got a lot more engagement than my normal content. Is that stuff acceptable on LinkedIn, or is that stuff that should be saved for your Facebook and Instagram account?
Well, it depends on who you ask, because you're going to get a lot of mixed feedback here. In my opinion, and this is the strategy that I use, I feel it's important for my clients, as well as the people considering working with me, know a little bit about my personality. But they're not here just for the personality. They're here because they want to be assured that I know what I'm doing and that I'm going to take good care of them and that I'm a good person, right? So that's why I do a personal post once every couple of weeks, and I do it on a weekend. Now, you might not see it until Tuesday. Who knows? LinkedIn algorithm, who knows? But I really try to stick to doing my personal posts either like late Friday or on the weekends, and then stick to the professional stuff during the week. Some people do it different. That's just kind of what my thought is.
Your thoughts on people who put polarizing opinions up?
I mean, if it works for them, I don't think it's anything wrong. I think it can get messy and I think it can get dangerous. And I'm not a big person on drama or conflict, so I stay away from them, but I know it works for others.
Yeah, we won't name any names
Yeah.
of certain media personalities who do that pretty regularly.
Tim, can
Yeah.
I mention something that I have learned that is a big, big, big takeaway as a business owner on LinkedIn and as a resume writer? Content is great. Content is required. It's important. It's all those things. What's equally important is the comments. Hang out in the comments. Some good stuff is really shared in those comments. You can start building relationships with people in the comments. Your visibility goes up, up, up in the comments. And I'm just going to paint a picture here. Somebody makes a post and there's 20 comments. If I comment on the post, okay, that's one visibility. And then somebody else makes a comment and I love that idea. And so I compliment them. I love that idea. I can't wait to try it. Okay, that's two visibility. And then I may comment further down in the thread. That's 3 times I've gained visibility from 3 different people plus the original poster of the content. So, I mean, hanging out in the comments is something that I think is well worth spending the time doing.
Do you mean on your own posts or on other people's?
Both. I mean, that's LinkedIn is, you
I
know?
think that's a good rule for any social media platform, and one that people on LinkedIn get particularly wrong. Years ago, some of my listeners will know I ran a social media platform for 14 years. Actually predated. I launched 3 years before LinkedIn and 4 before Facebook. And so I had a head start. I just met the wrong investors, it would seem. One of the things that I noticed, because we would have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people visiting the site pretty much a day. I think by the time I got out of there, it was like 25 million visits a year. And this is we were very hyper local in terms of social media, right? So it was just for our own town, which is now about 400,000 people, right? So, but one of the things that I noticed and developed, and I think it's still on my YouTube channel if people want to go and check that out, I developed a thing called the influence pyramid. And now, at the top of the influence pyramid, we have thought leaders, thought leadership. And that's where you are creating content about original ideas that you have formulated. It's very difficult to be in the influence pyramid full time. In fact, most people can't. Even thought leaders like Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins and stuff, who are well-known names in our space, they're not always creating original thought and ideas. They go and read other people's books. They look at other people's stuff. Next down from the top of that pyramid is the people who share your content. And so if you think about this yourself, right? If you share someone else's content, you are getting more visibility and more influence over everybody who now reads your shared post. Addendum and thoughts you've added on to that. I'm saying, I saw this and I agree with this point of view, or I disagree with this point of view, and this is why, or
Right.
Okay. So thought leader, person who creates the content originally, people who share it is the next group down from there. And this is the easy stuff that I think people miss. Next group is people who comment, as you say, leave in the comments. If you comment on someone else's post, you get more visibility. It says your name, it says your little tagline on the thing there. You are getting influence over everyone below you in the pyramid, and a little bit, not very much, up the pyramid. It's not your idea, but you're now commenting on that idea. I don't think people do that enough.
No.
LinkedIn, right? It's a super easy way to stand out to everybody, right? Because most of the content that goes up there, and most content in general, whether it be Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, doesn't get a huge amount of traction. And if you're in the thought leadership space and you're putting content out all the time and no one ever comments on it, it's a bit like talking to a group of people who just think they're with deadpan faces.
And are you really a thought leader if nobody's seeing your content?
That's right. You want to get that feedback. It's really nice to have that feedback, right? Then you got people who like, super easy to like, click, 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 like. I like to change it to something other than just the thumbs up. Use different emojis, right? Again, you're going to influence people below you. And the vast majority of people And I think it's probably well over 70 or 80% of people lurk.
Yes. And that's another thing too. 70 or 80% of people lurk and they don't ever comment. That doesn't mean they're not seeing your content.
Correct.
It just means they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, but if you think about it in the context of who we try, if we want to get visibility of who we are, right? If we've created the post, we're sharing our thoughts. If we share the post, we're sharing our thoughts, but on someone else's original idea, right? We can now see a bit more about you. If you comment, we can see your tagline. If you like, we can see a tiny little icon of your photo.
Yeah.
Okay. If you lurk, you're not visible at all. It's super easy to lurk, right? You can sit there and read stuff all day long, but if we want to increase the level of influence we do, we've got to actually put more effort in. We've got to do some of these other activities. We've got to like, we've got to comment, we've got to share. And occasionally we need to go and create new ideas.
Yes, completely agree with all of that. And I just thought to say, when we're posting that original content, if we're wanting engagement, we need to lead them to the path of engagement. We need to tell them how we want them to engage with us. So like in my space, I may share a job search tip, and then I may say, recruiters, what would you add? So I'm asking recruiters to engage. If you just throw a post out there that's just informational, you may or may not get engagement. And I think a lot of people forget that, people that aren't used to posting often, new to posting, you need to have some reason to comment, engage.
Well, it's a good conversational tip in general. If you're struggling with conversation, answer a question, ask a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, my day was great. Or my day was great. How was yours?
How was yours? Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
really interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to open up the conversation, I think that's a really fantastic tip, and I love the idea of doing in the comments as well, even if people don't necessarily reply.
Yeah.
On to it, ask a question, and then that's super powerful. You're absolutely right, right? If we want to get employed, we want to find the right people, whether it's by an employer or by a client. The more visible we are, the more we're likely to get seen and enter into the conversation about having an opportunity there. Let's go. I want to look at some of your systems, Kristi, because I know this is an area you've done a lot of. Tell me about a system that you use in your business to attract, convert, and keep your customers.
I use Loom all the time, every single day. I don't know that it's necessarily a system, it's a tool, but I do use Loom to attract my clients. I create the videos on Loom. I will do like a mini educational thing, like, want to know how to tailor your resume to fit a particular job? So it may be like a 2-minute video. I do a lot of 2-minute truth bomb videos using Loom. So Loom is a tool, maybe not so much a system. In terms of a system, I use Notion.
Okay, tell me about Notion.
Notion has really helped me create like a dashboard with all the activities in my business. So I have one section for prospect clients. I have one section for clients, and then I have one section for projects. So the client projects that are in process, I can track the workflow of each project in Notion. We have, for the writers on my team, I have like a wiki place where they have all the tools that they need to help We Write It Now write the resumes. So different resume templates, strategies, that sort of thing. Notion is very visually appealing. It has a lot of drag and drop features, and you can customize it any way you want. And there are thousands, I would say, of templates that you can use to help arrange all of the activities and project manage all of the projects in your business. So Notion has been really helpful. Let's see what else.
What's your process for using some of these tools? Let's start with Loom. What's your process around how you use it, right? Is it just, I use it every single day as I sort of come up with, I grab this thing and record and away it goes? Or what's your process on how you use it?
So I use Loom for resume audits as well as LinkedIn profile audits. So what that might look like, for instance, with LinkedIn, I'll talk to the client and I'll try to get an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish with their LinkedIn profile. So if it's a business, I want to know more about who is their ideal client, what is their messaging, those sorts of things. And then I'll do a pretty detailed audit on things that I see, things that concern me, things that don't concern me. Okay. And it's usually about 20 minutes long.
You have a conversation with the client, look for their objectives, Step 2, go away, open up their profile on LinkedIn and or their document, open up Loom, which is a cool little screen sharing app, free, which is great. But you can get a paid version. I'm sure you've got the paid version like I do, because there's other things.
I do have the paid version, but the
and
free
then
version.
Just talk to what you're seeing on screen as you sort of scroll down and then screen share.
I don't even screen share. So I talk to them first and then I do the audit afterwards. And so the audit is really just me on video, but the video is their profile. So it would be similar to a screen share. And I just walk them through all the things, but then aside from that, I have a Word document that goes with each audit. So that's one way I use Loom. Another way that I use Loom in my business, not so much to attract clients, but to train team members. So if I have a new VA, I'll create Looms on processes that they need to do. And it's very easy for them to quickly go back to these videos if they forget. So like my last VA, I had her checking who's viewed your profile, and I had steps for her to follow. Those steps were in Notion. And then I may send them a Loom video just introducing myself. Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out my profile. If you have any questions at all about your job search, please reach out. Let's chat.
Love that. So Loom's a little screen recording app, right? Now, I love this sort of connection that you've hinted at there, but I want to highlight it for our listeners. Using Loom to record, and then you're taking the recordings and you're dropping them into Notion to document your operational process, but also using it to then create that real personal connection with new clients who come into your LinkedIn sphere, visit your profile, and then using the Loom to then, hi. I mean, I didn't really notice it, but now that I think about it, you didn't actually say my name in that. So it's not like, hey, Tim, I saw you drop by my profile, although it'd be easy enough to do that as well.
Yeah.
But hey, I saw, so you can always pre-record the one Loom and say, all right, VA, everybody who visits my profile, send this video to start a conversation with them.
Yeah. And similarly, I recorded a Loom video and I put it on my website that covers what to expect during a consultation with me. Because I do charge a slight consultation fee, I give so much value in these conversations. And anyway, so it's $30. And they want to know what's going to be covered. Like, why should I pay you $30? So I want them to see why I'm asking them to pay $30. So I do a short 1-minute video. It's on my website. Click here to see what to expect during my consultation. So now they already have a soft intro to me. They're seeing my face. They're getting to know me before we even have the call. So we're increasing that like, no trust factor again. Likely they're either a referral or they've been watching my content. So they already kind of know me. Now they've clicked the video and I've taken it a step further. And then I'm going to get on the phone with them and go over everything that we've talked about in the consultation video. And so it's familiar to them. It's just kind of easing that entry into getting a yes.
Put myself on mute for a second there. I really like it. It creates that personal connection. I think it's valuable, just coming back to some of the early things you said. If we're writing a resume for a potential employer, or we're presenting ourselves for a potential client, the greater connection that we can create through the use of tools like Loom or organization like Notion, or, I mean, that would be a great one to say, hey, I organize my life with Notion, and that applies to a business context as well. But put a link in your resume that says, go here to learn a little bit more about me, and here's my little intro video, right? Creates a level of personal connection that helps you stand out from everybody else. And that's ultimately what we're trying to create.
Exactly. And you can have that link in your resume, especially for those that are in the creative space. If you have a link to a digital portfolio, put it on there. Also, going back to LinkedIn, if you have a portfolio, use the featured section to highlight some of the things you've done. There's also in LinkedIn a project section. You can upload projects that you've done. Consider LinkedIn as a digital portfolio. It's not as robust as things that are designed specifically for that reason, but it's a good head start.
Absolutely. I always finish the show with a bunch of random questions, Kristi. We spoke about this very briefly pre-show. You're in the process of building a new house, nearing completion. Beautiful location in Texas, overlooking the beach and the water. Now that you're nearing completion, what's one thing you'd change
About the house build,
about the house build?
hire a project manager. It's a lot to manage when you're running a business and then you're building a house and managing that project. So if we could have hired a project manager, that would have freed up a lot of time for us, I think.
Yeah, in the process of moving house myself, and I've got a bunch of trades here. My painters have just turned up, so I know exactly what you mean. If you could go give back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Research, 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 and meet with a career coach when you're starting your career because they know more than you. And they're going to ask you the right questions to help you identify the job that is best built or designed for you. And I say that because when you graduate, you have in your mind an idea of what you want to do. But sometimes what you want to do isn't affordable, or maybe you're just not great at it. Like, I want people to be doing things that they love, that they're really good at. And I think when you partner with a career coach early in your career, they can set you up for success on the right direction that fits you.
As an employer, I know you've got a team as well. What's a tip you could give our listeners to maybe read between the lines in a CV or a resume to find what we're really looking for that maybe a potential candidate hasn't articulated well?
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, I'm not sure that I am, but here's what I understand is when you see a lot of metrics in a resume, like I achieved cost savings of 125,000 because I streamlined some processes. I know there's more to that than that. And in an interview situation, you will likely be asked, how did you get to that number? So if you can quickly communicate how you got there in your resume, that would be the thing that I'm looking for. Otherwise, maybe you did it, maybe you didn't. But if you can't speak to how you got to that number, I'm going to be raising a yellow flag. Like, hold on, I need more information.
Yeah. What's your morning routine and how does it set you up for success in your day?
My morning routine starts with the night before, and we shared this off show. If I can the night before strategically plan out my next day, so I know what's going to hit me, no surprises, and then I always start with this list of gratitude, the top 3 things I need to accomplish, and then I have my list of things to do. That's how I start my day. It often goes sideways, but you got to start somewhere. Without that list, there's a lot that gets missed.
What's your favorite food and what does it say about you?
Seafood, of course. Seafood. That's why I moved into the water. I was raised by the water. I'm retiring by the water. It's always seafood.
How did you meet your husband?
Okay, this is a good story. Truly, this is a good story. He is a musician and he had a band in Dallas for 40 years. We met in the 90s at a show, and 12 years ago, we kind of kept in touch. But 12 years ago, it was a situation where I was single, he was single, and we met up and just really realized this is my person. So it was kind of a cool story. We met 40 years ago and now we're married.
Yes, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's finish on this one. If you had 10 times the marketing budget that you have now, where would you allocate it?
I would go all in with video and AI in terms of productivity for me and my business. Like, how can I serve more job seekers? Yeah.
Love that. Kristi, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share, comment.
Yes, comment, engage.
We'll link to Kristi's details in the show notes. I definitely think you should reach out and have a chat with Kristi, even as an employer, looking at how you position your LinkedIn profile to attract clients and maybe get some insights on what you should look for in the CVs of the employees that you bring on to know that you're getting the best possible staff. And I think there's some real value in a 30-minute, $30 consult. Kristi, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's been such a pleasure, and I just love chit-chatting with you.
Good stuff. Guys, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on another episode